Greetings. Greetings. My name is Michael Miller, and this is a Michael Miller Pilates YouTube live video broadcast. And I'm so unaccustomed to saying that because I've been in a routine where I do live broadcasts on Facebook, and as comfortable as that has become, it seems more prudent to come to YouTube and try to make my profession on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So, in keeping where I've been on previous broadcasts, I'm just stepping over here into YouTube again. This broadcast is out to you because you're watching. Thank you. And it's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates and Core New course students. Excuse me, Core New being the trademark in the background one. The core new tension is in the body everywhere, and you don't have to be interested in Pilates to understand how your body creates tension between axes to facilitate more uniform engagement that makes your body lighter and allows you to feel alignment more clearly, which reduces stress as well. So on my broadcast today over on Facebook, I thought I'd see if YouTube is still running. My topic was the one leg stretch, and it all boiled down to tension and tension, tension, as in when muscles engage and they interact, they create tension. And to look at the one leg stretch and the mat work, you have to step back at least to the preceding exercise of rolling like a ball. And I made the point that in Michael Miller Pilates, the core is a grip at the hips. The powerhouse is a grip at the hips. And the grip is a condition. And if you establish that condition of grip, then you establish your core, because in that encirclement, in creating that grip, you establish an axis of rotation that grip is encircling. And so okay, in talking about the one leg stretch and talking about two different approaches to how you engage in the leg, that the hand in the leg that's bent, maybe three different ways. One is just not to engage the hands at all, and that the leg moves without any contact with the hands. Another way is to engage with the hands and squeeze the leg thigh to chest submissively in the stretch, other than the arms making the squeeze. A third way is to push out against the hands, making the squeeze, so there's an interaction of squeeze between the hands and the leg, pushing out, shin to hands. And to me, it's in that interaction of isometric tension that you create more depth of grip, first in rolling like a ball, and then on into the rest of the sequence. As soon as you open your view to perhaps the hips being an engagement, a rotational dynamic at the hip, and when you load the leg, the leg reaches out away from center. That's loading, right? Body gets heavier. To the point that you engage the end point at the metatarsals, right? The end point at the metatarsals, to the extent that when you're reaching leg out, it's not a dead foot. It's not a locked knee when it gets there. So that's what we talked about, is these two ways of engagement. The first engagement in both rolling like a ball and the one leg stretch is getting better and deeper grip at the hips. The Michael Miller-Pilates way of looking at it. The second way of engagement is to engage at the metatarsals, the ball of the foot, so that the end point of tension you create at the metatarsals connects back to the one you're deeply working to develop at the hips. And by doing so, creates an end point at a distal point that allows you to spread the load of the leg between the hips and the farthest point possible in the body, the metatarsals, because the tip of the toes doesn't create a rotation. All right, and then number two in this whole way I make broadcasts is the notion of mind to muscle, and how when you say or think, lift your arm, and you just lift your arm, your mind tells your hand to lift, and it lifts. Mind to muscle. And that's prevalent in the world of movement out there. Excuse me, that's prevalent in the world of movement out there. But a Pilates instructor knows that they're aiming for the experience in the moment of the doing. And that experience depends upon engaging the capacity of the student's ability to listen and observe and concentrate, right? To engage in their spirit in that way. The word spiritual is intellectual and interpretive. In Michael Miller-Pilates, the word spirit refers to the observer exposed in physics. Which Joe, I think, would be completely thrilled with, that his whole method has got nothing but purer and more understandable and deeper than ever. So mind to muscle is not so. What can you move? And if your student, in my case, said, he looked at me and he said, and he lifted one arm. And I said, okay. Can you choose when you breathe? And he wasn't sure what I meant. So I said, inhale. And he inhaled. So you don't need those first words. You don't need that first sentence. Just say, inhale. Right? And that happens. And exhale. That happens. But then, so you set up two things that they can control. But it's going to be hard to control them both together simultaneously without listening. And so, as you inhale, lift your arm. Right? And right there is where you say, that's Pilates. You know, identify it. Let a person know they can only lift one arm and barely. That when it comes to doing Pilates, the presence of mind that it took, or the body-mind-spirit that it took to be in that moment, is what the whole shooting match is about, in my opinion, when I'm teaching, and depends on a lot of other things, but you know what I'm saying. And so know that mind to muscle is out there, and there are schools of Pilates out of the 10,000 that are out there that, you know, are pretty much a complete and pure expression of mind and muscle delivery of the movement. It's fascinating to watch, and it's beautiful to partake, beautiful to observe. That was number 2. And then number 3, so after you learn the target and after you learn how to hit it, what then? And see, I assume I'm talking to a Pilates instructor looking to survive as a Pilates instructor. And hopefully what you've learned from me is this way of understanding Joe's original work that provides you with why it is, what it is, and how to accomplish what it is, because what it is an experience. You know why it is that, and you know how to hit that or how to accomplish that as an instructor. So once you know the target is the experience and how to hit it by pressing the flow, you press the flow of body, mind, and spirit, all those 3 things. You press the flow of body, mind, and spirit to get the fusion of all 3 of those, to get them completely coordinated in the moment of the doing. It may be more of a spasmodic fish suspended in springs that can't control the body in front of you. But to the extent that there's interaction and the observer is present in the process along with mind and body, right? This is the real stuff. This is being in the now. And so I summarized my broadcast in Facebook with the reminder that it's about tension. It's about physical tension. I dropped the rubber band when I reached for it in the other show. But it's about tension. And no tension, and it takes tension between points, and that's what's going on with the body. And this tension between points is sensational, meaning the reason it matters is because you can feel it. You can feel the results of it. You can stand up straight, or at least try to, or at least think you're at least lined up, shoulders over ears. And there's a feeling that comes from that. And so when it comes to confidence, when somebody says, I can feel that, you know you're teaching. Don't make a big deal out of it because it's just the feedback you want to hear. You know, if somebody says, well, that makes sense, or I understand why, they're thinking. But if it's, oh, I can feel that, or I could feel that, or did you feel that, right? You're Yoda into their cave. And you're waiting for them to come back if you're their instructor, because you're there to protect them and to maintain their sense of omnipresence. When they come out of their cave, they look for your eyes as though you were there with them. And that has to do with how present you are and how concentrated you are on what you're trying to do. So, YouTube. This is a much big YouTube, in case you don't know. The reason I'm here instead of in Facebook is because it's a much more uncensored population and audience. It's a much bigger audience. And it's a much bigger audience. And more control over the file that comes out of the recording. Okay? Which are both real positives. What's hard is not to see people's names at the bottom of the screen, and likes and hearts go screaming by on the screen when you're talking about something they like to hear. But because my profession is interested in helping you survive as a Pilates instructor, I'm going to try to more regularly broadcast on YouTube here. So, I'm just one Pilates instructor, and I thank you for allowing me to act as a teacher, and hopefully the information that you got from me will help you be a better instructor. Oh, and I usually end my broadcast with, live can't live forever. You know, that's sort of what brought me to this, is my ability to reach you now while I'm alive and have the opportunity. And I know that you never know when the end shows up, and I will have shared what I could when I could, and perhaps this information will get to you when you are looking for it. In the meantime, life can't live forever. Read between the lines. Very important, especially to survive as a Pilates instructor, and especially to let the body in front of you reveal itself. That's like the lines. The movement in the body reveals to you where you go next. It's not a thinking thing. See, when a trainee comes up to me and says, well, how did you pick going from that exercise to that exercise? Because in a training program you learn lists and sequences and levels and a lot of structure. And when I teach it private to a person, and they have a lot of equipment, I use whatever equipment I need or have available to me. You do too. But the how to choose thing, see, the how to choose what's next. And that's what set me off on this point, is that you have to let the body move before you have anything to do, because you're an instructor, and it's corrective exercise, meaning you see movement and then you try to correct it. So you don't try to pray beforehand or to run a class. As much as you see movement, as an instructor, this is the way I see myself, I'm there to give feedback to movement. I'm an instructor. I give instructions. And see behind the curtain. Yeah. Add 2 and 2. You've heard this if you're familiar, and if you're not, this is my standard. Try to get out of Dodge and be comfortable with making a good ending. The better the lesson is going, the better your lesson is going, the more dangerous the ending will not be so good, will be less. So protect a really good session, you know, right out the door and away. Add 2 and 2, yes. Direct your own thinking. Geist.